the star of this 1979 comedy classic, and it was his first starring role on film, kept everybody in suspense. They didn't know whether he was going to show up or not. That story and more next. Hi everyone, welcome to Retro Flicks. This is your channel for retrospectives on movies and television. Today, we're going to look at a comedy classic from 1979, as I mentioned in the intro. Before we get to that, though, I want to ask everybody, please, if you would subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. As I mentioned in the last video, real quickly, obviously I'm not having as many episodes as I did over the summertime. Things have been really busy, and so I'm just getting them out every few weeks now, just one every few weeks now. The next month, I'm hoping to try to get more in, because come November, I'm going to probably be gone for probably up until the end of the year. I don't know if I'm going to have any episodes on at that point. I'm going to try maybe one or two, but that might be it. It may not be until the beginning of next year, so I'm going to see what I can do within the next month. But obviously, I'm not going anywhere, so if you could please subscribe, you'll be notified when I do put my episodes on. I'm hoping next year, too, to kind of have a different environment, a different venue for where I do my episodes. So if you please hang in there with me, I really appreciate it, because I love doing this for you guys, and I love to have your thoughts and comments, and for us to really remember these great movies is why we do this. Today, our movie today is going to be Meatballs. It is a classic from 1979. It is actually, which I believe is still the highest grossing Canadian film in the United States. We'll talk about more about that at the end. And Meatballs is basically about a summer camp. It is led by there are lead counselors, and then there are counselors in training, which are called CITs. And these lead counselors are kind of helping them go and be counselors themselves, as it says they're in training. And there's basically three layers of this plot. There's a lonely kid that is sent there by his father. His mother just died. The father works a lot, so said, hey, you need to go to the summer camp and see if you can meet some people and that sort of thing, and meet some kids. But obviously he really does not have a lot of self-confidence. He obviously traumatized probably by the death of his mother, but just doesn't really have the social skills or anything like that. So, and as a matter of fact, in the movie, he ends up running away, and so there's that part of it. There is obviously the romance between, especially with the lead counselors, between a character called Tripper and another lead counselor, Roxanne. And then there's the third part of this, and that's a rivalry with the lake across the camp, which is more the wealthy camp. This camp that the main camp here, it is not wealthy kids. They're probably middle class to lower middle class or less kids. The wealthy camp is across the lake, and they'll have a rivalry with them. So that's kind of the three plots of this, and this summer camp type of movie. And so I rewatched this, and it was really interesting to see. I was really more into lead actor. I'm going to get to later here, very soon here, because he is basically, this is his first role, famous actor, his first really film role. And there were some funny parts to the movie, but there was also parts of it, I have to admit, it's like, yeah, that was 40 plus years ago, and it just didn't resonate. But I still think it's interesting. But to me, it was just seeing how this actor really is just a genius and had it from even his first film role. But I think it's something, again, interesting for a rainy day to watch. This movie was directed by Ivan Reitman, who we talked about with National Lampoon's Animal House. Ivan Reitman was in that movie was a writer, but was a producer. And at this point too, he had also produced 2 Canadian films with David Cronenberg, and so he had some producing credits. He did the National Lampoon show with this actor we're going to talk about today, so that's how he really knew him and knew how talented he was. So when he went to make his first movie, he really wanted this actor, and so this was his first directorial directorial film that he would do, and directorial experience, and it was an independent. It was a Canadian film used by Canadian funds, a lot of Canadian actors in it. Ivan Reitman, of course, is Canadian, and so they were using a lot of that in the in this movie, and it was for the most part privately funded. But Reitman took on this. He wrote it. He also had a little bit of help, a little polish from Harold Ramis, who he had worked with National Lampoon Show and with National Lampoon's Animal House. And so he really knew Ramis and worked well to him, and Ramis put a little polish onto this script. And so after Ramis did that polish of that script, they were ready to shoot. Now, what Reitman had for the main character and the character's name was Tripper. In this movie, he had Bil Murray. That's who he wanted. That's who he worked with the National Lampoon Show. Bill Murray then, after that, went on to Saturday Night Live and was working at Saturday Night Live at this time. And when doing this movie, he wanted to shoot it over the summertime. He wanted to get Murray for this. He had written that character for Murray, and there was no plan B. No plan B. He wanted Murray. So that whole summer, and he was going to shoot in August. He was going to start shooting in August. That whole summer, he was on the phone with, I think, not an agent, but I think a lawyer of Bill Murray's, trying to see if Bill Murray would do this role and come up and shoot this. And they were shooting it in Canada, outside Toronto. And so through the lawyer, Bill Murray really kept telling him, well, I'm just going to play baseball, or I'm going to do this or that for the summertime. Because here was the thing, Bill Murray already knew he had a job. He was going back to Saturday Night Live in the fall. So they were not shooting, obviously, at that time, doing Saturday Night Live at that time. They would start the new season in the fall. So Bill Murray had time on his hands really to kind of do what he wanted. And he was like, I'm not going to do a movie. I'm just going to hang out, play baseball or golf, or, and he kept, but Reitman was persistent. Reitman was, I got to get him. I wrote this for him. And he went right up until, real like the day before he was going to shoot. And he called the lawyer again and said, could Bill do this movie? I really wrote this for him. He is the only person that can do this. And the lawyer said, I'm not sure. I'll go ask him again. But Bill is doing a lot of other things. And finally, the lawyer got right back to Reitman and said, okay, he'll show up. He'll show up in a couple of days. All right. So, all right, and so they started to shoot, and Reitman said that, well, we'll save the stuff that Tripper, Bill Murray's character. Let's shoot some of the other stuff that we don't need him in, the first couple of days. But within the first couple of days, he didn't show up, and so even in the third day, they were like, oh, we're shooting this stuff and we're almost running out of it already. The stuff that we need to do has Tripper in it. But that third day, who came rolling in on the set? Bill Murray. And this ended up becoming a part of his mystique. Bill Murray would tell you, he just wouldn't know if he was going to do something or not, and then he would just end up showing up. And he did this on Caddyshack too. He would just end up, nobody would know he'd come. He would keep you in suspense and then just show up. And so he really always kind of had that mystique about him, and people that were doing movies with Bill Murray and years later would always kind of wonder whether he's going to show up or not. So, but he ended up coming, and Reitman said he took the script and looked at it and said, this sucks, and throws it away. And Reitman said he took the character and just pretty much ad-libbed, and it was genius. And that what Murray did was better than what Reitman had wrote. in the script. He just kind of made it his own, and Reitman just sat back and said, "This is why I got this guy. He's just this is why he has that he can just show up and keep people, because people know how much of a genius he is, a comedic genius, and not just in comedy, but he's done drama. But he's just phenomenal that he can have that long leash. You're going to give it to him, and he just took that role, and so it was just really interesting of how that happened. And that's really kind of when I watched the movie, when I watched it again, that's kind of what I was really looking at. I was really looking at Bil Murray. Yeah, there were some good parts of it, and there's other parts that were like, yeah, that was 40 years ago. That wasn't really funny anymore, but to each his own. But but you watch this and watch Bil Murray, and you're like, this is his first film. He did an uncredited role in 1976 in another movie, but this is his first feature film and a lead that he did. So he was just incredible from day one. In the box office, like I said earlier, the budget numbers vary. I've heard from $100,000 to $1 million for the budget. So I'm not sure there. All I can tell you though is it did make a lot of money on a very low budget, and it ended up grossing just about $70 million, and it did very well in 1979. It ended up becoming, I think it still is, like I said earlier at the beginning of the video, I think it is still the highest grossing Canadian-made film in the United States. It actually was the highest grossing non-U.S. funded movie for about 3 years until 1982. And in 1982, Chariots of Fire broke that record. So it just a major success, and put Reitman on the map, put Bil Murray on the map, who was already kind of on the map for Saturday Night Live, but still that kind of sent him into movies. And then, he had Caddyshack and so forth, and Ghostbusters, which then is Reitman, right? So Reitman then put himself on the map with this, and then so studios started to give him directorial opportunities, and he went to do Stripes with Harold Ramis and Bil Murray, went to do Ghostbusters with Harold Ramis and Bil Murray. So it's really interesting. And then of course he went on to do a slew of other ones, right? He couldn't go into all of them, but he ended up becoming one of the best directors ever, and Bil Murray became one of the best actors ever. And so that really launched him in the stratosphere, no doubt about it. There was one interesting thing about music here. There's a song called "Making It" by David Naughton, who was an actor, musician, and singer, and he did a song called "Making It," which was in this movie, and in 1979 it went to number 5 on the Billboard charts. And in fact, we're going to do a David Naughton movie. I want to do a David Naughton movie, and I'm going to do it within this next month, as I'm trying to do more here before a little bit of a hiatus here, I guess. And if we want to put it in TV terms and more like that I might have to be taking, but you could probably figure it out if you want to see David Naughton's Wikipedia or any biographies what it's going to be, but I'm not going to say. But I'm going to really hit in this movie here because it was an awesome movie that he ended up doing about 3 years after this song came out in Meatballs. So anyway, that's Meatballs. And again, I really do encourage you to watch this. Again, Beauty's in the Eye of the Beholder, what you think. You might still think it's funny, you may not. I still think it's so interesting to see Bil Murray, at this time. So where can you stream Meatballs? There are several places, thankfully, that you can do it for free. Roku channel, you can stream it there for free. Pluto, Plex, Tubi, and Vudu. And there's a new one I just saw called, I don't know if it's F-Awesome. I don't know if it's pronounced F-Awesome or Fawsome. I'm not sure. Maybe people out there know. But I'd never heard of that until researching, places where you could find that. So that's a place too. If you do want to pay for it and run it, you can do Prime Video at Apple TV. But obviously several places there, again, that you can stream it for free. Again, Roku channel, Pluto, Plex, Tubi, Vudu, and either Fawsome or F-Awesome, however that's pronounced. So please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. It really helps the channel. And until next time, that's a wrap.